Can I kind of dig in here too, because this is obviously a big point of interest to me, because the whole sort of theist-atheist debate is interesting to me. Was this experience, was it sort of general as you've described it, the appeal of these men, or were there any particular arguments you kind of could sink your teeth into that made you feel that theism or religion really was, had been disproven or was silly? Was there anything specific?
Yeah, it's a great question. So on the one hand, I mentioned that I don't think I was super well catechized. Excuse me, let me drink water here.
And while you're doing that, let's also mention one other thing about those guys and some others is they're not always wrong. They point out a lot of like hypocrisy, a lot of really silly stuff. And I mean, I got to give them props for that. They're right about a fair number of things.
Sure.
Trimming the fat. Yeah.
So one thing that comes to mind is that I thought the I forget it. Well, I don't know if it's, Dawkins talks about like the anthropomorphic principle or something. I forget what he calls it, but basically this idea that we, as humans, like make ourselves the center of the universe and sort of use us being here and trying to think of a way to justify how we're here.
Anthropocentric?
Yeah, maybe
like that.
maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. The one that I really found striking also, and this isn't really an argument, it's just like, well, if you were born in India, you'd be a Hindu. Right. If you were born in Japan, you'd, I don't know, maybe be a Christian if the missionaries had gotten to you. No, if you were, but since you're born in America, you're Christian. Right. And I remember, swallowing that.
What does that mean? Because I've heard the argument before, like as an argument. Is it saying that there's no objective reality behind the religions? You just kind of are how you're raised?
I think that, that how you're raised has the biggest influence on you. It's not actually the truth of the matter, that you're just kind of going along with whatever your parents said. So I remember thinking that was powerful. But yeah, so John, you're right that I had moved into searching as well, though. Like, so the first half of college was the G.K. Chesterton searching.
Yes.
As YouTube came around and these atheists, so one, sort of what I started to say before I choked was, I didn't get a great or I didn't think I got a great religious education because I hadn't heard any pro-God arguments. Yep. Or if I had, they hadn't made sense or I hadn't remembered them. So to be charitable to the people who did religious education, maybe I just didn't remember them. I'm not sure if I understood any arguments for God's existence before I encountered arguments against God's existence. Right. So one, I had no tools in my tool belt to defend myself against these arguments. And again, they're not really, well reasoned, or they're not really even necessarily well articulated, other than they come with a good amount of really, really professional rhetoric. Yeah. And then, but I was searching at that point, and it did make me think about God's existence and morality, and I really did become very passionate about being moral, and that's where I say I think Christopher Hitchens was also obsessed with that. Yeah. Again, in a probably negative way.